already recorded this review, and then I went to go edit it and realized I had almost an hour worth of footage. Yeah, I'm not doing that. What's up, guys? This is Courtney, one half of Deconstruction here, and I'm bringing you my super late review for Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007. It's the third film in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, and apparently there's like when my brother on my mom's side took me to go see the midnight premiere of this in IMAX, I believe, and afterwards the news back in Chicago was there at the theater talking to people who had just gotten out of the movie, and apparently one of my classmates at the time said that he saw me on the news. Apparently there's footage of me professing my love for Spider-Man 3, but I ain't never seen it, so it don't exist. I've gone on record saying that Spider-Man 3 isn't as bad as a film as we remember it to be. And I going back and realizing why the previous review that I recorded was almost an hour long is because I went through a lot of notes that I took kind of in order as I was watching the film, and then I talked about the changes that they could have made. Overall, I think the acting mostly is fine. I'm going to try to streamline this review, by the way. Overall, I think the acting is mostly fine. I think Tobey Maguire does a good job before he turns into emo Peter Parker and starts dancing and wearing eyeliner and shit. J.K. Simmons is amazing as usual as J. Jonah Jameson. I think Kirsten Dunst, again, they still don't really give her anything to do besides be the damsel in distress. I will say, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman is probably the standout performance of the movie. And talking about the second, well, technically this movie has three villains. I think James Franco does okay as Harry Osborn slash New Goblin. And I actually don't hate Topher Grace's Venom, which is surprising when you realize that I'm a Venom fan. However, with what they were trying to do with this film, I think they did an okay job. It's not the best version of Venom that we can get. Side note, if you've read or if you've watched my review for Tom Hardy's Venom, you know I don't like that very much at all either. But I also don't think it's the worst version of Venom that we could have gotten either. What they were aiming to do was have Venom be the mirror image of Spider-Man. So that's why his suit basically looks the same as Spider-Man's suit, except it has the dark gray Venom emblem on its torso instead of it being white. But it has the webbing, and he's not super gigantic like Venom is in the comics. But that's because, again, they were going for a mirror image of Peter Parker and Spider-Man with Eddie Brock and Venom. And I think Topher Grace did an okay job with what he was given. I think him being like slimy and annoying, I think that worked towards the Eddie Brock that he portrayed because he was obsessive and his comedic timing. Like at one point, there's something going on at this building. There's like a crane that crashes through, and Spider-Man ends up saving Gwen Stacy. And Captain Stacy doesn't know that it's Gwen until Eddie says something. And he's looking through his camera, and he says, "Oh my God, that's Gwen." And he says, "Who are you?" He was like, "Well, I think he says, finally, nice to meet you." He says, "Who are you?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm Edward Brock, sir, and I'm dating your daughter." I just thought that was really, really good timing, how it plays out. And I think there are moments in the movie where just the way that his delivery of lines works for the character and how they're portraying the character. But I think the story is where the biggest miss is for the film. Now, let's get this straight. I do think out of all the Spider-Man movies that we've gotten, Venom is above the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Because you can ask anybody that knows me, I hate the Amazing Spider-Man films. But yeah, the story is the main part because they could have done a lot of things differently. My whole thing with Spider-Man 3 is that this shouldn't have been a film with three villains in it. You have Harry Osborn as New Goblin, you have Sandman, and then you have Venom in the film. I think you take out Venom, this instantly makes the film a whole lot better. Now, I don't necessarily think you need Sandman in the film either, but if you're going to, my idea would have been to save Venom and the symbiote saga or save Venom for the fourth Spider-Man film. Sam Raimi doesn't like Venom as a character, and Sony made him shoehorn Venom into the story, so that's why everything seems forced. And when you go back and watch the film, when Eddie Brock gets the symbiote, it's like 40 minutes left out of the movie. So it's a lot of really, really quick pacing after that, trying to fit his part of the story in. But I think you save Venom for the fourth Spider-Man film, and then you basically tie up. You use Sandman as a villain that shows the symbiote is changing Peter for the worse. But overall, this movie should have been the completion of the original arc with Harry, because Harry goes on a revenge tour against Peter for killing his dad. Now, there are a lot of bad, stupid ass decisions made in this film, like the butler telling Harry at the last minute, "Your father died by his own blade. I cleaned the wound, and I know." Why were you sitting on this information for 3 films? You could have said this after the first one, and Harry wouldn't have gone 2 extra films, trying to kill Spider-Man, finding out it's his best friend, and then trying to kill his best friend. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it's a redemption arc. The retcon of Sandman killing Uncle Ben, I don't love it. I guess I lean more towards hating it, because then that kind of needlessly ruins Peter confronting the robber in the first film. But I still think that you have Sandman's redemption arc, because at the end of the day, he's robbing banks, he's stealing money to go pay for his daughter's medical care. He's not a bad. He even says in the movie, "I'm not a bad person. I've just had bad luck," or something to that effect. So he has a redemption arc, and then you can bring in Harry's redemption arc, where he begins to hate Peter, and then ends up finding out by some other way besides his butler telling him that his dad essentially killed himself. "I've been needlessly trying to kill my friend. Maybe it's time that I go help him." So I think you remove Venom, push him to the fourth movie. This makes this film a whole lot better, because it gives it more space to actually breathe. Now, I don't want to go too deep into how I would have rearranged or how I would have altered the film, because that's what led to the previous review being almost an hour long. However, I do just want to say that overall, I do think that this isn't a good film, but it's not as bad as people remember it to be. I think there are some really cool sequences in the movie, and I do think there's real potential for what they did do with the movie. I just think shoehorning Venom was not the right move. I think if you wanted to do the symbiote thing, you still could introduce that, but just save Eddie getting the symbiote to the end of the film, not as a post-credit thing, but maybe right before the credits, as all the stories are getting wrapped up, and then you have the fourth movie be Spider-Man versus Venom. However, since Sam Raimi doesn't like the Venom character, just completely omit everything about Venom, the symbiote stuff, all this other stuff, and then what you have is you have a movie that's about the redemption of Sandman and Harry Osborn. And then there are even other things in this film, especially with Peter and Gwen's relation, not Peter and Gwen, Peter and MJ's relationship, where it's a little tumultuous, I guess you can say. And they're not really getting all that well together, and it kind of pushes her to end up kissing Harry at a later point in the film. But I think with all this stuff happening in the film, with their relationship not working and he's trying to desperately make it work, you can have his kind of attitude, especially with the Sandman stuff. You can kind of have his attitude shift. Don't have that be a symbiote exaggerating those bad personality traits. Just have it being, oh, this guy was also involved in Uncle Ben's death. He didn't shoot him, but he was also involved in the robbery. He was the getaway driver or something like that. But you have potential to use something that would normally change your attitude and have you kind of lashing out at everybody. You can do that and then make it a redemption arc for Peter as well. So you can have 3 redemption arcs in the film if you just completely omit Venom out of the movie. So again, overall, my review for this film is it works in parts of the film. It mostly doesn't work as a whole because of the inclusion of 3 villains for the movie. But there was potential to just kind of let Raimi do what he wanted to do, base it around Goblin and Sandman, and have a much better film and a completion of the arc that was building in the first film to now. But it's definitely not the worst Spider-Man film that we've gotten. We have 2 Andrew Garfield movies for that. So, fight me. But as always, guys, I appreciate the support, whether it's 1, 5, 10, or 100 views. That's my review for Spider-Man 3. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully it's not nearly as long as the previous video that I did. Maybe one of these days I'll sit down and I'll do an edit for Spider-Man 3, like how I did for Power Rangers. But go check out the other videos. Next week, I got a really interesting video for you guys. It's also a super late review. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. But in the meantime, I'll be catching up with you guys later.